there are things in your life that you will encounter that will give you the opportunity to rise in your frequency bandwidth. Okay, they're like key moments in your life, and everybody's had these moments where you meet somebody or you hear of a certain thing, like frequency work or whatever it is, where there's the opportunity for you to raise your frequency bandwidth, because, and it depends whether you take it or not, right? Because, for example, you could hear a frequency work and then ignore it. Right. And it could come across your path again, and then one more time, and then you just don't take it up. Right? You just don't do it. So your frequency bandwidth won't change, or whatever modality it is. I'm just using frequency work because that's what we do. Sure. But it could be anything, you know, it could be the meeting somebody who's really pivotal in giving you access to, you know, a teaching, a learning, a something, a meditation practice, and you don't go to meet them. You know what I mean? Like a friend's coming to bring them, like you're going to meet them because you're supposed to meet a friend. Right.
It's almost like the universe lines up these tools for you to rise, and your free will determines if you do it or not.
That's right.
And you might get multiple reminders.
Yes.
Like, for example, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, he's a neuroscientist and a meditation guru or whatnot. So he has books and meditations. So someone had mentioned him once, and I, you know, wrote it on a piece of paper, lost the paper, whatever. Right. Came through again, and I was like, oh, that's kind of familiar. Yeah. I think it was the third time, and then it, you know, changed my life. Right. And then I found you. You know, it was like, so that could be a stepping stone to something that else. Even gets you even higher. Yeah. So what would you say we should pay attention to the signs? Or? Yeah. So I would say that it's interesting. So your higher self is the thing that helps to dictate all that. And when it's ready and you're ready, it will do things to wake you up, to increase your frequency resonance, to give you that opportunity. So my suggestion is to follow things that come in at least a 3, especially if they're close succession. So 3 or more of the same mention of the same thing, chances are it's not random, especially if it's coming through different means. So like a friend tells you about Dr. Joe, for example, right? And then you receive something through your inbox. Which has nothing to do with
the friend. Yeah, they're just like totally unrelated.
Like the next day or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or, and then you hear his name because you hear it on the radio or I don't know, whatever.
Very cool.
You see what I'm saying? Yes. And then all of a sudden it's like all these unrelated sources of information. All of a sudden you get 3 in a row in a very short period of time. That's when I start paying attention to it, because it's just like a little confirmation. And as your resonance rises, you don't need 3 so much. You actually need less, because you'll feel it. So meaning you'll become, as your frequency resonance rises, your ability to sense the resonance of something else that you need to follow clarifies.
Okay. I have a great example. Yeah. If that's okay.
Yeah, please.
When I moved to Hawaii, so I don't swim, or I'm working on swimming. I'm not a water person by nature, right? So I never wanted to move to Hawaii. So I went here on a vacation. Long story short, I was pulled. And I'm like, but I don't want to move to Hawaii. No offense. At that time, I liked where I was. And it was like, if I didn't listen to this, like, I knew something bad would happen or good wouldn't happen. You know, the volcanoes were going off at the time. All my housing was falling through. But I listened to that strong pull. So would you say kind of like an internal compass to be aware of that? And follow it, listen.
And there are certain key moments in my life where like time has felt different to me, where like it got really, really long. Then I knew that yes, it was a yes for me. I didn't know really what it was, but I followed that kind of thing. So there's certain key moments for people where that happens. As I said, as your frequency bandwidth rises, you start to, you need to know why less. You can just follow.
You just feel it.
You just feel it, and then you know, and you move, even though you don't know why. So it's like, you don't know the end outcome. Like, you didn't know why you're moving to Hawaii, and you're like, it doesn't make any sense. When we came to Hawaii, the same thing. We're like, this makes no sense. Like, we don't know anyone on the island. Like, we don't have a business. Like, we're starting a new one. It's totally unrelated. Like, it just makes zero, like, what we are doing here is like totally, like, crazy town right now. But it actually ended up being an amazing gift to live here. But from a logical perspective, it really made no sense.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, exactly. So, but that means typically that's harder for people to do when they're lower in their frequency bandwidth, because it's harder then to overcome the mind, the logic, which says this doesn't make sense.
Right.
The higher in your frequency bandwidth that you are, the easier it is to do that. And of course, how you're falling in that frequency bandwidth, the easier it is to trust, right? So if you're at 10 to 20 and you're at 20 and you're feeling good, the easier it is for you to trust exactly, to go for things. Yeah. But if you're at 10 and that's kind of like where you are and it's lower end of your frequency bandwidth, it's much harder to take these leaps of faith because you don't feel good, right? So it's important to cultivate, and that's part of why I created Coherence Mastery, is to cultivate being on the higher, like being even aware of what your frequency bandwidth is, first of all, and then cultivate being at the upper end of it, and then moving your bandwidth up. So all those things are possible with frequency work and tools that you can do physically to help you. I mean, this is about self-empowerment, right? So to help you yourself, move yourself up in frequency resonance, because ultimately when you do that, that's when you start to experience things that are amazing, right? In terms of like, faster, clearer creation manifestation, more feelings of your own brilliance, this internal strengthening, confidence, all that stuff that we've been talking about happens at the higher and higher levels.
Right place at the right time, things coming to you, not you searching for things.
People being attracted to you at the right time, synchronicities, all that sort of stuff.
I know someone that everything she needs just shows up in her life. You know, and she's on her path and it works.